We are Steve and Jill.
Together, we've been buying and reselling land since the 90s.
Our data-centric approach leaves our buyers asking, how can you sell it so cheap?
Here on the Land Academy Show,
We answer that and more. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
and I'm Jill DeWit, and this is the Land Academy Show.
This is episode number 2184. Today, Jill and I are talking about how we reach landowners who are motivated to sell their property below market value. Isn't this the whole point to this, the magic to this whole thing?
It is kind of funny. That to us, it's like duh, but for the planet, that's like whoa. We need to unpack this because there's a lot there. Like, what, you guys sound like it's so easy. Well,
This part of it is that easy.
yeah, we know how to reach them, and it started with you.
Exactly so, and we'll get into that in a second, but I want you to think about this until we get to the topic. Imagine that a share of stock is trading on the NASDAQ or whatever for $100. And somebody calls you and says, I know you have this share of stock and I'll give you $30 for it right now. And you do. Well, that's the ludicrous thing. Why would someone ever sell a $100 a piece of stock or a share of stock that's worth $100 for $30? Why would they? They wouldn't. They wouldn't because the market out there, the stock market is what I would call an efficient market. It responds in real time to pure supply and demand. Real estate is an inefficient market, which creates an incredible amount of opportunity for people like us and hopefully for like you. So we'll talk about this in more detail in a second.
You are sounding incredibly smart and sexy to me right now, I have to tell you. That was some, I'm like, where is he going with this? I'm like, oh.
I love your low
good.
standards, Joe. Thank you. Hey, all week this week, this is Monday.
Is Sexy Jack Week.
Oh, geez, what's going on today?
I'm just kidding.
Week to week. We can do that.
My
I
love
said-
language is smart talk right now. It used to be chores around the house. It used to be acts
Yeah.
of service. Now it's like talk smart in big terms.
I wish I had a little heads up on this. If you want to do Hot Joe Week and Sexy Jack Week, separate weeks, of course.
This is good. All right.
Give me some notice on that.
All right. But by Friday, maybe you come up with, I changed my love language for this week. So tell me what your temporary love language is for next week. Or is it always the same? Just walk
It's always
around
the
like
same.
I do.
It's been the same.
Just walk up to me and grab my hand. That's Jack's love language. And say, follow me.
Jill is. Yes, that's all true. I wouldn't call that the love language, but that's part of
All
our
right.
relationship for sure. Jill, you apply logic, and I can go up. We could spend an hour on that.
Or a
That is
week.
not typical for most of the women that I've ever come across in my entire life, starting with my mom.
Well, you shouldn't have a love language with your mom, but she should be logical.
Yeah, she should have.
You would
She should have
think.
been.
You know what? Maybe that's one of the reasons we're together. Because my mom lacks that logical nut too.
I've met your mom, and our mothers are very similar.
Yep. All right. Let's not go there.
Jill doesn't want to talk about this today.
Nope. Now, you know what? That's how to take the mood out of Jill.
You did it to yourself.
I know. Well, let's talk about moms. Nope. Moving on. I'd rather talk about this.
All week this week, I'm calling it Mailer Week. Today, we're going to talk about how to reach, like I said, landowners who are motivated to sell their property below market value. Tuesday, tomorrow, we'll talk about the power of the right land mailer message. On Wednesday, the power of the neighbor letters. Once you buy properties, send a bunch of letters out to people who live close by. Thursday, why most people price their land mailers or land offers wrong. And then Friday, finally, the real cost of sending a land offer campaign mailer. It's way cheaper than you think. Each day on the show, we answer a question from our Land Academy member Discord forum. We take a deep dive into land-related topics by your request.
Okay, so today, let's see, Matt wrote, I got a call today from an heir of an estate who wants to sell a property that is currently in probate. The attorney handling the probate told her to call and see if I would extend the period on the contract. Oh, that's nice. So that it would be long enough for probate court to approve the sale. The property is actually zoned industrial and is worth way more because of it. There's another heir who is also in agreement on selling it. This would be a really good spread on this deal. I have a call into the attorney to see if I need to list both heirs on the agreement. I sent the regular offer letter with a purchase agreement for this one, but part of me wants to use the contract that I have that is just a little bit more detailed, just so it seems more legit. Am I overthinking this? This may be a 5 times my money type of deal.
Go ahead, Joe.
How great is this? Well, you know
We've
what?
done this many times.
I know. My response, my knee-jerk response is, if they're not asking for a more in-depth contract, don't make it more in-depth.
That's my answer too.
But if they, and then I love your saying, do you want me to just put both? Do you want me to put both of them on there? Which I assuming the answer is yes.
And I would do that anyway, because there's a psychological, when you sign your name to an agreement, I believe there's some psychology that begins. This is the beginning of selling this property, subconsciously to buyer or buying it if you're the buyer. And that's a race to the finish line.
Mm-hmm. What a great situation.
Yeah.
So Matt's letter and offer in the mail arrived during the middle of all this. They talked about it. The two sellers talked about it and said, heck yeah, let's go. Here's the situation. Can you wait an extra X amount of days while we're getting the probate done? And then, and then we're ready to sell this to you. I love it.
I do too. This is why
they don't even care. They're not even going to try to slam more money out of it. Whatever. You're solving this problem.
This is why I chose this question this week, specifically today, because this is the power of the mail. Mm-hmm. When you send thousands of mail letters out, this is the kind of stuff that comes back.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's great. This sounds great, actually. Even if it's $10,000 and you pull 50,000 out of it at 5 times, that's stand-up double. Mm-hmm. But congratulations. I'm glad it's working out. Today's topic, how to reach landowners who are motivated to sell their property below market value. So that is the big question. Mm-hmm. I jokingly say when I'm ever in a social environment, people ask us what our business model is. I quite simply say, we buy a piece of real estate and we sell it for more. And everybody stops what they're doing. They stop all their conversations, say, whoa. What's that all about? Well, I want to do that. And it doesn't matter.
Duh.
It doesn't matter if they own their own jet. They want to hear what this is about. Mm-hmm. So that's what in this most basic form, that's what today's topic is all about. It's how do you get to those people on the buy side? Because everybody knows the sell side. If you get a piece of property that's undervalued, you list it on the MLS against all the other properties in the market. It's a nice piece of dirt, and it's priced very well. It's priced below the rest of the properties that are like kind or worse. You're going to sell it really, really quickly, and that's our business model. So how do you get these landowners? How do you reach the landowners who are motivated to sell? They're usually motivated to sell before they get our letter. Our letter is just is the trigger point.
That's a good point.
The gun's already loaded. Our letter just pulls the trigger. Is that bad?
I don't know. I'm not sure. You know what? The YouTube comments section will let us know if that was over the line or not. I prefer to say they're warmed up to the idea, and then they get our letter and they're like, heck yeah, and they pick up the phone.
The popcorn machine has popcorn in it.
That's good.
Our letter just turns the switch on. Is that better?
Yeah, it's much
better. More
better.
rated G.
That's much better. That's really good. Even though we have the G rating on here, I hope you know. Yeah. All right. So give me more.
How do you reach anybody?
Yeah.
How do you reach anybody who wants to drink a Pepsi? Well, Pepsi's way for a million years has been, we're going to do some amazing Super Bowl commercials, and people are going to, over time, when we barrage them with enough messages, consciously or subconsciously drink Pepsi. And that's unfortunately or fortunately true, depending on how you look at it. We have chosen not to carpet bomb the entire world with this message. What we like to do is narrow down who we think is a logical seller through database manipulation and scrubbing. And so we have a real good, clean list of, first, everybody who owns a property that I would think I would want to purchase, and we send them a letter in the mail. Jack, it's the 21st century. A quarter of the 21st century is over. You're going to send somebody something in the mail? Yes.
Yeah.
I started my career out without boring everybody in a grandfather type way by sending automated faxes overnight to people who owned long-term care facilities. And it proved to be, it was an overnight success. It proved to be incredibly efficient, efficient from a time standpoint and a money standpoint and all of it. So I would send a fax to at the time, the closed database of about 12,000 facilities in the country. I could send 2,000 or 3,000 faxes a night. In the morning, there are several phone calls waiting. The faxes said, you want to sell your building. And I would get phone calls, and the next day, and we would quickly put deals together. Yeah. I reached the right people. I sent it to every building owner. Some people called back angry. Some people said, I'll do it for the right price. And some people just flat out said yes, because we caught them on the right day. There is no difference from what I did there to what I do now. And it's 35 years later. Yeah. The vehicle is mail. Can you send faxes anymore legally? No. That was way before spam laws. Can you send emails and texts? No, not legally.
That's the thing.
So there are more efficient ways to communicate now. And there will be in the future, probably at some point, this will be replaced with something. Mm-hmm. But for the moment, this is an incredibly efficient and effective and predictable way to do it.
You know, one of the things that we don't talk about, but what you're just saying made me think of it, is having that in your hands, a tangible piece of paper that you have to get your pen out and sign, says something too, versus a fax or a text. Like, think of a text, yeah, I want to buy your house, whatever, versus there's a letter in the mail with my signature on it and a place for you to sign. That's powerful.
Yep.
And I don't know if we're going to talk more about that later this week.
We are. We're actually going to cover all of this in separate topics.
Cool.
You know, but the natural human response that Jill and I have been getting after 10 years of instructing Land Academy is, yeah, how can we make this mailer a little smaller? I really just want to send out 10 letters and do a deal.
Right.
Well, you know what? So do I.
Yeah, join the club. Why do you guys send out so much mail? Because we need to.
So in the question today, this guy, Matt, reached somebody whose property was in an estate scenario, in a probate scenario, which is somebody died, the owner died, they're probating all the assets, the heirs are going to get the assets, and they're going to sell them all probably, or keep the ones they want. If I sat around and said, you know what, I don't believe in people who are in probate, I don't think they should get a letter from me. I'm going to make my mailer smaller. I'm not going to reach them.
Yeah.
It's all about reaching everyone who's logical, everyone who owns land and could be a logical seller, and reaching those people, because you don't know what their situation is. If you're new to this, Jill and I have said this a million times, and I'll end on this. People sell their real estate under value because they're experiencing a life event. They don't, or they just want the full-blown convenience. Jill and I, as sellers, have been in both of those cases. And I would argue that probably everybody listening to this have knowingly sold an asset, even if it's in a garage sale, way under its value, just because you want to get rid of it, because you're just tired of it, tired of looking at it, your wife's telling you about it, and all of that. Car, maybe. So reach these people through the mail very consistently, sending out mailers every 2 weeks or every month or so, and you will get motivated sellers. They're already motivated sellers. They just received your letter that day. Mm-hmm. Join us tomorrow where Jill and I talk about the power of the right land mailer message. You are not alone in your real estate ambition. We are Jack and Jill. Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property.
We hope you find our content valuable and we appreciate your support. If you have not already, please check out our channel and hit the subscribe button.
And your comments and suggestions help us to create the content you're here for. Hitting the like button helps to support our channel's algorithm and gauge your interest for future shows.